introducing Ramona, who is our mascot. So Ramona is actually a statue of a Scotty dog. We're the Scotties, of course, but she's actually a fictional student that used to fake enroll in classes at Agnes Sky, part of our traditions. So we named our Scotty dog Ramona. So we always like to start out by introducing her. And I would also, if it's okay with you guys, love to know who else is in the meeting today. If you guys wanted to introduce yourselves, I would love to hear, who you are.
Well, my name is Dwayne Campbell, and I'm a part of the Gameplan College team at the MLK Center. And I've been at the MLK Center for nearly 2 years now.
Awesome. Sounds good.
And I'm Christina Villegas, another post-secondary access advisor. You're excited to learn about Agnes Scott.
Great, great.
And my name is Jackie, and I'm one of the post-secondary access advisors for the team.
Wonderful. Sounds good. Well, I am excited to tell you all about Agnes Sky. Before we dive in, I want to ask who has, heard of Agnes Sky? Do you know, a lot about it? Do you have specific questions that you want to get out of today? Anything like that?
Go ahead, Christina, sorry.
I was going to say that I know Agnes Scott is a women's college, and that it's part of a coalition of one of like several women's colleges. Mm-hmm. I'm not exactly sure what that coalition is called off the top of my head. Mm-hmm. And I also know that, well, I would say that's the big point I have.
Yeah, awesome.
And I was going to say, I know it's a women's college.
Okay, sounds good. Awesome. So yes, we are a women's college. We're also liberal arts and sciences. There is the Women's College Coalition, pretty simple name. It's about 40 women's colleges left in the United States. And then we're also part of the Colleges That Change Lives. Have you guys heard of Colleges That Change Lives before? Yeah, okay, awesome. So we are a part of, it's called CTCL. That's about 40 colleges as well. So that was, a book was written on those colleges. So we were deemed one of the colleges that change lives, which we're excited about. Awesome, so we'll go ahead and dive right in. To begin, I really like to talk about our mission statement because that's a really important part of the college's kind of core values. So at Agnes Sky, our mission is to educate women to think deeply, live honorably, and engage in the intellectual and social challenges of their times. So of course, being a women's college, that is, something that is really near and dear to our hearts, but also, really engaging our students to think outside the box, think about those social challenges that they want to kind of tackle, not just, on campus, but across the globe as well. So really encouraging our students to think about problems that they want to solve as kind of social change agents. So that's a little bit about our mission statement. To tell you a little bit about the students that we have currently on campus, obviously not like physically on campus because we're all online right now, but typically we have over 1,000 students living on campus. We are a residential college, and I'll talk a little bit more about res life later, but we have students coming from all over. So our current student body represents 43 states and 28 countries. So we are small, but we're widespread. So about every year, half of those students are coming from Georgia, and then the other half are coming from all over. From North Carolina, I would say we have a handful of students every year that ranges anywhere from, like 5 to 15, I would say, students from North Carolina. And I am the admission counselor that works with students in North Carolina, and I'm actually from North Carolina as well. So I love working with those students. So you can see some of the other statistics right there. 61% of students identify as students of color, and 34% are first generation college students. So we really, love our student body, and we really want them to, come together, and students of all different backgrounds to learn from each other. So that is a little bit about our campus community. And now we're going to talk about academics at Agnes, Scott. So I'm going to go into academics first and then talk a little bit about social life after that, student life. There is something that we have at Agnes Scott called Summit. Are any of you familiar with Summit, or have any of you heard of Summit before?
No.
No? Okay, awesome. Well, I get to tell you all about it then. So Summit was developed about 5-6 years ago. And it is something that every single student does during their 4 years at Agnes Scott. So it is our signature program. So we wanted to give every single student, not just some students, but every single student, the tools, resources, and experiences they need to become a global citizen and an agent of change. So what that looks like is that through Summit, our students will explore. They're not just gonna dive straight into their major and declare it right off the bat. They have time to explore the various subject areas. They're also going to explore global learning and take a language. They're gonna explore leadership, and I'll get into each of those aspects after this slide. But then they're gonna identify. So what is it that they're really, really passionate about, and how can they pursue that passion as a career, as a major? So they're gonna identify what they wanna go into after graduation. And then they're gonna prepare. So we don't just say, you know, here's your major, here are your classes, good luck. We prepare our students. So making sure that, you know, they are set up for life after graduation. So those are things that Summit does. They let our students explore, identify, and prepare. And I'm going to go into each of those a little bit deeper. So during a student's very first year at Agnes Scott, we allow them to explore 2 different areas in addition to the other subject areas that they'll be taking. So those 2 areas are leadership development and global learning. So leadership development, we know that, you know, all students have leadership qualities already, and we want to help them figure out what those qualities are, and then how can they build off of those leadership qualities throughout their 4 years to become leaders in their field. So one way that we do that at Agnes Scott is through Legacy. So Legacy is a leadership immersion experience. It is actually before classes. So students come, they move in on campus, they go through orientation, and then they go through Legacy. So it's kind of like a leadership retreat. So they take something called the Strength Finders test. It tells them their top 5 strengths, and then kind of how to utilize those strengths in social and academic life. So right away, they already know what their strengths are. So when they're going into their classes and group work and extracurriculars, they know that they can build off of those strengths. And when you're doing like collaborative work, they can use those strengths to help their team. So that is one thing our students do right away. Another thing is during a student's very first semester at Agnes Scott, every single first year will take a Leadership 101 course. So these aren't just what is leadership, because that would probably be boring. These are what does leadership look like in some type of context. So for example, we have a leadership in politics. So what does leadership look like for women in politics? We have an International Atlanta leadership course. So what does leadership look like in the context of International Atlanta and the global kind of aspects of the city around us? So these are themed courses that every single first year takes their very first semester. And then moving into global learning during a student's second semester at Agnes Scott, so after they learn about leadership, they're going to be taking a Global 102 course. So they're going to learn about global patterns and the systems that shape human lives in a specific country. So during this, 100% of our first year students go off campus and go on a 7 to 9 day global journeys trip. So these are some of the places that our first year students would have gone this year. Unfortunately, they didn't get to go because of the virus and everything happening, but they will go next year. So they're just postponing their trip. But typically our first year students go on these trips the week before spring break. It is included in tuition, so the only thing they pay for is the cost of a passport if they don't already have one. So all of this is included. They're going with a faculty member and the peers that they have been in course with all semester, so they're comfortable with their group. So most of these are out of the country. However, we do have some domestic trips as well for students that maybe don't want to go out of the country or can't for some reason. So these are, really awesome trips that students get to take. I am very jealous of them. I wish I could go on all of them, but we really are excited that we're able to do this for our students. So in addition to exploring leadership development and global learning, we know that during a student's first year and that transition from high school to college is a really big step for them, and we want to support our students, of course. So the way that we do that is through mentorship and advising. So every single student at Agnes Scott does get a summit advisor. This is a professional advisor, kind of like a typical advisor when you go to college that helps you register for classes. They look at your transcript from high school, any dual enrollment, AP, IB classes, all of that, and they make sure that you're taking the classes, or students are taking the classes they need to take. They stay with you throughout your entire 4 years. So students meet this person before they step foot on campus their first year. So they video chat with them over the summertime. So when they get on campus, they have a familiar face that they can check in with. And then they, like I said, stay with you throughout your 4 years on campus. Students also have access to peer advising as well. So all students will have a peer group that they have an upperclasswoman kind of lead. They put on different workshops like study skills, time management, to kind of help them with that transition from high school to college during their first year. It looks like I have a question. How are the countries chosen for the Global 102 journey? Awesome question. So those countries, they fill out a form, like a survey evaluation. They preference their top 3. And then they also answer questions like, have you been anywhere before? Do you speak a language? What are your, academic interests, stuff like that. And then they get placed in one of those preferenced 3 countries. Okay, awesome. So after our students kind of explore various subject areas in leadership and global learning, during a student's second year at Agnes Scott, towards the end of their second year, they're going to identify and declare a major, or multiple majors if they want to do that. So we do have 34 majors and 31 minors for students to choose from. This is quite a lot for a small school. So students often do double major or, major and add on a minor or 2. So they can definitely combine those things in different ways. We also have 3 dual degree programs at Agnes Scott. So if students are interested in nursing or computer science, they can do 3 years at Agnes Scott and 2 years at Emory University, and they would graduate with 2 bachelor's degrees. And that we have another program with Georgia Tech for engineering. So 3-2 program, 5 years, 2 bachelor's degrees. So it's a really awesome opportunity for students who are interested in those areas. We've definitely seen the nursing program become more and more popular as students are really interested in the health field. So we also have something called ARCH, which is 19 cross-registration options. I absolutely love this program because it allows students to take classes at other schools in the Atlanta area as long as we currently aren't offering the class. So for example, we've had tour guides take ASL at Georgia State. We had some tour guides take Italian at Emory. If a student is really interested in like a specific type of coding, they can go and take that at Georgia Tech. So it's a really great way to kind of supplement an Agnes Scott education and be in a different learning environment for, a couple times a week. So this is included in tuition. Students can do this twice per semester. It is first come, first serve for students at the kind of home institution first, but as long as there are spots available, then our students can register for those classes. So really awesome kind of benefit of being in the Atlanta area. Another part of a student's second year, when they declare that major, is they add on a faculty mentor as well. So this is a professor in that major. All of our professors are either PhDs or have terminal degrees in their area. So they're actually being taught by the professor and not like a graduate assistant or a TA. I went to a very large school, and a lot of times I was taught by graduate assistants, and I was like, well, the professor's name is on it, but I've like never met the professor. So I think it's really awesome that our students are actually taught by that person and get mentored from our professors. Another part is actually new this year. We developed something called SCALE. So SCALE is the Sophomore Class Atlanta Leadership Experience. So all of our sophomores, while all of our first years are on the Global Journeys trip, all of our second years will be doing an externship in the Atlanta area. So this is a wonderful opportunity that we rolled out this year. Students did get to participate. It was actually like right when kind of Corona was starting. So it was really interesting for our students not to only be in these companies and nonprofits, but to also be kind of at the forefront of how companies were dealing with the virus. So it was really interesting for those students. Let's see, I think we have a question right here. Why are the co-curricular and non-academic so important? Good question. And how do you uniquely define? Yeah, so I think, you know, the co-curricular and non-academic experiences are so important for multiple reasons. One reason I would say is maybe a student like really loves pre-health, and they really know they want to go into the health field, and then maybe they do one of these externships at the Children's Healthcare at Atlanta, and they see, oh, maybe that's not the best field for me to go into, or maybe I didn't really enjoy that as much as I thought I would, or I really love this specific aspect of it, so that's the pathway I want to go down. So I think the co-curricular experiences really help students find exactly, you know, what pathway they want to go into. In addition to these kind of mini externship, we do have students that do tons of internships, which I will talk about in a second. But I think, you know, these non-academic outside of the classroom experiences are really important to help students kind of guide that pathway. And you asked, how do these uniquely define the Agnes Scott students and alumni? So our alumni are very connected with the school. These experiences, I would say, you know, really help students shape their identity, especially with alumni. They're always giving back. So we have something called Handshake at Agnes Scott. So alumni can post specific job opportunities and internships on this platform called Handshake, and then our current students can see those opportunities. So if we have an alum that's maybe, you know, works at a magazine, is like the editor of a magazine, they post an internship experience, our students can see that and kind of go and do that with that alum. So pretty cool experiences there. Awesome. So you can kind of see off to the side over here, these are some of the SCALE places that our students did this year. So Zoo Atlanta, really close to campus, students who might be interested in like veterinary sciences or, you know, nonprofit organizations. The Lola is a women's entrepreneurship nonprofit organization. So really cool experiences there with students. Awesome. So I just mentioned our externship that all sophomores do. And then we kind of started talking about internships. So internships are very important, like I said, for students to kind of figure out that pathway they want to go down, or maybe realize that it's not for them and they want to do something else. So 70% of Scotties complete at least one internship during their 4 years, 50% complete 2 or more, and 55% of those are paid. So I think we're seeing, you know, more and more internships are paid these days. I think it's really awesome for our students to be able to earn while they're learning as well. And then students who maybe aren't doing internships might be doing research. So research is so important. Even at the undergraduate level, we want to make sure our students are being engaged. So we have the Center for Disease Control really close to campus. We've had students do research there, different areas, you know, on and off campus. So these are some of the places that our students have done internships and research just in the past. You know, some of these are big, like Fortune 500 companies like Coca-Cola, and then some are more innovative startup companies or healthcare organizations. So another, you know, awesome part about Agnes Scott is that we're so close to Atlanta. So our students really have tons of opportunities in the Atlanta area. So other ways that we support our students and, you know, make sure that they're ready for their whatever career path they want to go down is we have the Office of Career Development and Internship. So they really make sure, even starting your very first year, that you have a resume, that you are writing cover letters. If you want to, you know, do like a mock interview, we have like what not to wear workshops, stuff like that for our students to, you know, go ahead and start thinking about, because that's not just a senior year conversation, that is a, you know, every year conversation. So we're making sure our students are really prepared for that next step. So a little bit about our outcomes at Agnes Scott. These are statistics from the class of 2018, so a year out from graduation. So we'll have new statistics this year from the class of 2019, but 91% of job seekers in the class of 2018 offered or accepted a position a year out from graduation, and 100% of them were accepted to graduate professional school. So you can see Duke on here, you guys are close to that one. But these are just a few of the places that our students have gone in the past. We are one of the top Peace Corps producers, which I think is really cool. A lot of our students go into the Peace Corps or Teach for America, a lot of service kind of organizations. And then a lot of our students do just want to go straight into grad school or straight into the workforce. So whatever a student wants to do, we make sure to support them in that and help them figure out the tools to get there. Awesome. So I've talked a lot about academics so far. Before I kind of move on to student life, do you guys have any other questions about academics? Okay. Give me a second to get a sip of water also. Perfect. So I'm going to talk about the Agnes Scott community and kind of life on campus for our students. So of course, residence life is a big part of college, and we know that. We are a residential campus, so we want all of our students to live on campus throughout their entire 4 years. So they are guaranteed housing for all 4 years. We have 2 first-year residence halls. We have 3 community style residence halls, a suite style, 3 living learning community houses. So these are houses on campus that are, you know, put aside for our students who have interest in similar areas. So we have a STEM house, a global learning house, and a leadership development house. And then we also have apartments that the college owns that are right by campus called the Avery Glen Apartment Complex. So students can definitely live in any of those, but first year students all live in either Winship or Walters, which are our first year residence halls. Also, if students want to bring a car to campus, there is parking available for our students. It is a small fee for that, but I honestly don't think students really need a car. In the Atlanta area, we have a transportation system. You can always kind of find a ride. We also have the Scotty Shuttle that takes students around the area as well. Awesome. I have a question right here. What percentage of your students, if any, drop out before their second year? Awesome question. So our retention rate from first year to second year is 87%. So it's quite high. I really think that comes from all the support that we give our students with their summit advisor, with their peer advisor. We're very hands-on. So we want to make sure our students are really coming back year after year. Great question. So I want to mention some of the other places that we have on campus. Of course, besides our, academic spaces and residence life spaces, we have health and wellness on campus, the wellness center, we have workout spaces for our students. Some other academic spaces besides our normal classrooms, we have an observatory on campus. So we do have an astrophysics major, which is interesting at a small college. So we're really excited to be able to, have that resource for our students. We do have fine arts building, a dance studio, and then athletic complexes as well. So lots of different campus amenities for our students. So a really important part about Agnes Scott is our traditions. So I think in general, women's colleges have really strong traditions, especially, small colleges that have been around for a really long time like we have. So some of our traditions you can kind of see in the lower left-hand corner when they're all holding up their hands. They're showing off their rings. So during a student's sophomore year, they are inducted into the Black Ring Mafia, is what they call it, and they get a black onyx ring engraved with the Agnes Scott logo, and then you can also get it engraved with your degree on the side, like if you're going to get a BA or a BS, you can put that on there, or your name or whatever you want to do. So it's a really cool kind of rite of passage ceremony, and you get to keep that ring forever and ever. It's really fun when we have alum come back into the office. They'll be like a mom or grandma or great grandma, and they'll be showing off their ring, and it's a really cool kind of sisterhood experience that our students get to do. We also have, if you look at the picture beside it, when they're all wearing their Black Cat shirts, Black Cat is our version of homecoming. So it's kind of homecoming minus the football. So it's a week in October that we have lots of different kind of themed days. So we have a bonfire, we have a Black Cat formal, so our students have a dance. There's skit day, junior production day, there's a field day, so lots of fun different traditions happening during that week. And then in the upper right-hand corner, you can see some students holding a rope. That is the ringing of the bell. So we call it bell ringers. So when a student during their senior year gets either accepted into a graduate school or gets a job offer, they get to go up into our bell tower and ring the bell and then engrave their initials or their name into the bell tower. So you can kind of see somebody's name right there. But that's a really awesome kind of tradition as well. And then all of the students that ring the bell, our Office of Career Development sends their names out and then where they're going so all of campus can celebrate them. So every Friday, if you hear the bell ring, you know that somebody's celebrating an offer or acceptance to somewhere. Awesome. Okay, so another important part about our student life is our location. So we are technically located in Decatur, Georgia. This is, give or take traffic, about 15 minutes, 10-ish, miles from downtown Atlanta. So if you're familiar with Atlanta, there is a perimeter. We are inside the perimeter of Atlanta, so still very close to things. We're about a 5-minute walk from downtown Decatur. So downtown Decatur has a little square. That's where the MARTA station is. Around the square, there's restaurants, coffee shops, bookstores, lots of really cute kind of things for our students to partake in. MARTA is our transportation system that allows students to get to the airport, downtown Atlanta, different Mercedes-Benz Stadium, the mall, stuff like that. And then we do have a bookstore that is called Karis Books and More. So this is the oldest feminist bookstore in the South. So that is actually on our campus that students can go and hang out at as well. All right, so now that I've told you all about Agnes Scott's academics and student life, I want to make sure to tell you about our application process. So especially for, college advisors, this is really important for you guys to know as you're, helping students find their right fit college. I'll make sure to kind of go over this into detail. So we have several application deadlines at Agnes Scott. We have an early decision deadline, which is of course our binding deadline. That is November 1st. We have early action 1 and 2. So we do offer 2 early action deadlines. I would say the majority of our applicants apply early action 1 just because they want to know sooner. Of course, early action 2 is popular as well. That is our priority scholarship deadline. So that's an important one to remember. If students want to be eligible for a merit-based scholarship, make sure that they're applying by January 15th. We do have a regular decision deadline, which we moved back this year due to Corona and everything like that. So it was actually April 15th this year instead of March 15th. We are still accepting applications. So if you do know of seniors who are still trying to figure things out and maybe want some other options, they can still apply to Agnes Scott. Typically, our enrollment decision deadline is May 1st. This year, we moved it to June 1st. So we made that student-centered decision because we want our students to have more time to figure things out. So we are Common App exclusive. It is a free application to apply to Agnes Scott. For a student to complete their application, we need the Common App. There is a essay component to that, and there are some supplemental answers, Agnes Scott specific. We, want to see a list of activities, anything ranging from, sports, extracurriculars, volunteering, if they, help out their family and they have family responsibilities, putting that on there, honors, awards, honor society, anything like that. I have a question. Does Agnes Scott accept transfer credits from 4-year public colleges and NC dual enrollment? Yes, we do. So we allow students to transfer in up to 64 credit hours. So quite a lot. Typically, those credit hours transfer in pretty well. As long as the student is taking something similar to what we offer, it should transfer in. So, introduction to biology, English composition, any of those kind of like entry-level classes that we have or most colleges have should transfer in. Okay, awesome. So in addition to the Common App, we do need recommendation letters. So 1 counselor recommendation and then 1 teacher recommendation. It can be from any teacher that a student has a good relationship with. We also, of course, need the high school transcript and then a student's test option. So at Agnes Scott, we are test optional. So if a student does not want to submit test scores or maybe feels that their GPA is a better indicator of their success in high school than their test scores are, then they can be test optional. So that just means that instead of submitting test scores, a student can either do an evaluative interview. That is about a 20 to 40-minute interview, either in person or over the phone with their admission counselor. So for students in North Carolina, that would be with me. We just ask them questions about themselves, about their interests, stuff like that. The other option is for students to submit a graded writing sample. So that is a paper from either their junior or senior year of high school with their teacher's grade and comments on it. I tell my students when they're asking, what class would be the best to submit a paper from? An English class. Sometimes the really research heavy papers aren't the best because a lot of it might be research and not their own kind of writing. So we really want to make sure that we can see their writing abilities and their creative abilities in that. So that is the options. You can either submit test scores, evaluative interview, or graded writing sample. I will tell you kind of like our test ranges for SAT is about an 1100 to a 1300, and for ACT it's about a 24 to a 30. Excuse me. So if students are in those ranges or above those ranges, just go ahead and submitting test scores might be a good option for them. But if they're falling below those ranges, I would recommend going test optional. Let's see, we have another question. For seniors still interested in this year, when is the latest they should apply and submit everything if they're interested in the evaluative interview option? Great question. So I would say the sooner the better to apply, since we are past our regular decision deadline. That is completely fine. They can definitely still apply. If we decide to not submit to not accept applications anymore, we will put that on our website. But as of right now, we are definitely fully still accepting applications. So I would just say making sure they're applying sooner rather than later. Can you repeat the test score ranges? Yes, of course. So about an 1100 to a 1300 for SAT and about a 24 to a 30 for ACT. We do super score SAT, but we do not super score ACT. Would transfer students be required to submit? Okay, awesome. So I am actually the transfer counselor as well. So transfer students are not required to submit test scores. They have the same test options as traditional students. So they can either do test scores or the interview or the writing sample. The writing sample just needs to be from a college class instead of a high school class. And for transfer students, the GPA and all of that is a little different. So for traditional students, we don't have like a minimum GPA. Our average GPA is a 3.75 weighted. That doesn't mean we don't accept students below or above that. Of course we do. For transfers, the minimum GPA is a 3.0. So we do want to see at least a 3.0 and at least 30 credit hours of completed college coursework. Okay. So did I answer? I think I answered all that. Okay, awesome. Perfect. So if students do want to submit test scores, they can self-report them. So I love that we allow students to do this. It makes it so much easier for them, so they don't have to order them or pay for them. They can either just send me a copy or they can upload them to their application portal. It just needs to have their name on it, the logo, ACT, College Board logo, and a breakdown of their score. So just making sure it has those kind of aspects on it is important, but they can self-report test scores. Awesome. Okay, moving along. So the way we do scholarships at Agnes Scott is just by students applying to the college. So there is no separate application process or anything for students. We do have kind of one big scholarship called the Elizabeth Keesh Trailblazer Scholarship. This is for students who have one of these three items. So either a 3.75 GPA, and we will take that weighted as long as it is weighted on their transcript, an SAT of 1250 or an ACT of 26. So as long as a student has one of those three items and they're admitted to the college, they are automatically guaranteed $25,000 in merit-based scholarship per year. So I love this scholarship. I think it's super easy for students to kind of understand if they fit into one of those categories. So if a student is going test optional and they don't submit test scores, we'll still look at that GPA for it. For transfer students, we only look at the test scores. We don't look at GPA for this because GPAs are just so different between colleges and rigor is so different. So if a transfer student wants to be eligible for this, they do need to submit test scores. If a student does not qualify for this scholarship, we still have other merit-based scholarships ranging from $18,000 to $25,000 just by applying to the college. So if they don't qualify for this, but they're still accepted, they will get another merit-based scholarship in that range. All right, some fast facts on additional financial aid. So we use the FAFSA. That is how students apply for federal aid. We do have some additional scholarships that students can apply for separately, our special scholarships. So if a student wants to major or minor in music, we do have a music departmental scholarship that they can apply for. So that is separate. If a student has, excuse me, if a student has a specific religion that they're a part of, we do have some faith-based scholarships. So we have a Presbyterian scholarship because we are affiliated with the Presbyterian Church. We have some other faith-based scholarships. We have one that is very specific to Christians in the South that have need. So that is the Whitehead Scholarship. And we have a scholarship for students who are a part of the Jewish faith as well. So those are some specific scholarships that we have that are religious-based. We are also a Golden Door partner. And then we also have a Goizueta scholarship for students who identify as Latinx and have need. And that is a full tuition, room, and board scholarship. So students can apply for those scholarships. The deadline to apply for those special scholarships is every year on February 1st. So that is a little different than our other deadlines. So after a student applies to the college, they can apply for those scholarships. So let's see, I have a question. What are the averages for your Latinx scholarship? Awesome. So the Goizueta scholarship is for high achieving students that show financial need. So there are really no averages. If a student applies for that scholarship, they will be notified if they have been selected to interview. So it is, you know, really awesome top candidates that we ask to interview for that scholarship. Awesome. So in addition to our special scholarships, we always encourage students to apply for outside scholarships as well. So those scholarships, if they bring any from outside, can be stacked on their merit and federal aid. So we do not decrease any aid or merit if a student brings in outside scholarships. They can bring in as many as they want to, and we'll keep adding it on there. Let's see. Do students need to apply separately or just apply? Awesome. So the special scholarships are a separate application. Yeah, so as long as a student applies to the college, they will get a login information and they'll use that login to apply for the special scholarships by February 1st. Okay, so how do students going forward in this process, especially seniors, but juniors as well, because this is a big time for juniors to, start looking at colleges. So how do you get to know a college while staying 6 feet apart? We really want to make sure we're helping with this. So one way that students can get to learn more about Agnes Scott is by going on our virtual tour. So we do have a virtual tour. If you go to this link right here, it shows first year residence halls, excuse me, it shows our library, the science center, the fine arts building, the student center, the quad, all of that. So it's a great way for students to kind of get to know campus a little bit more since we can't actually be on campus right now. Another way is just following us on Instagram. I always encourage students to take a look at that. Sometimes we have student takeovers. Ziana Green right here is actually from North Carolina. She's from Cary. So she's doing a student takeover in a little bit. And then we always have like other impact stories, alumni stories, Scotty spotlights, stuff like that for students to kind of check on there. We also advertise a lot of our virtual offerings on our Instagram page. So right now we have faculty chats that are actually starting tonight. So tonight is faculty chat with the psychology department. We'll be starting to kind of roll these out. We have one or more than one every single day for the next 2 to 3 weeks. So if you have students that maybe juniors or seniors that haven't applied, that just want to learn more about the academics, they can go sign up for those. And then we actually have some virtual regular info sessions that are done with an admission counselor and a current student, talking about similar things that I've talked about today, but a current student gets to join and talk about their experience. And then of course our YouTube channel, we have different videos on there about different aspects of Agnes Scott. So that's a great way for our students to learn more about the college too. Awesome. Well, that is all I have. I know I have probably talked your ear off about many things. Do you guys have any other questions? Let's say I see one right here. How would Agnes Scott deal with transgender students on campus? And are those, yeah, awesome question. So our gender policy is that kind of the only student that is not allowed to be at Agnes Scott are cisgender males, so males who identify as males. So we are pretty inclusive when it comes to our gender policy. If a student is transitioning, if a student is female but identifies as male, awesome. We are very open. The only, like I said, the only students that are not allowed to be on campus or not allowed to be enrolled are males who identify as males. And if students, I will say, if students want to, transition while they're at Agnes Scott, we do have wealth centers. Would that include male questioning but not cisgender? Yeah, so yeah, definitely questioning students as well. That does include questioning students. So we do have the Center for Inclusion and Diversity Education that has awesome programs for transgender students and also transgender allies to help kind of create safe zones for students on campus, but also just be aware that we do have transgender students on campus and to be welcoming of those students. Any other questions? These are great questions, by the way.
With regard to the transfer students, would they stand an opportunity to receive any of these scholarships that you mentioned before?
Yes. So all transfer students, just by applying to the college, are eligible for merit-based scholarships in that same range, so $18,000 to $25,000. The Trailblazer, which is that $25,000 scholarship, they just are eligible for that through the test scores. So if they apply to the college and they hit one of those test scores, so the 1250 SAT or 26 ACT, then they'll automatically get the Trailblazer. Yep. And of course, they can do the FAFSA as well. I will say, in general, for financial aid, being a small college, and I'm sure you guys have seen this at other small institutions, we are very hands-on when it comes to talking about financial aid. So we make sure to reach out to our students to talk about their entire package, to talk about that gap and what it looks like and how they can kind of figure out ways to cover their cost of attendance. Awesome. Another question, being so close to Atlanta, is there any active social life on campus? Are students spending most of their free time and social time in the city? Great question. So I always get the question like, what do students do for fun? Or what do the weekends look like at Agnes Scott? And I have to say, it is different for every single student. We have such a diverse student body that, one person's definition of fun might be studying in the library over the weekend, and another person's definition of fun might be going to downtown Atlanta, going to a music festival. So it is just so different for our students. I will say, since we are a residential campus, a lot of our students do stay on campus and in the Atlanta area on the weekends. So they do go into the city. They go to downtown Decatur. That's very popular to do in the evenings, to go out to dinner with friends. In the springtime, in the fall, when the weather is really nice, you can find students on the quad. Lots of different events on the weekends too. So yeah, very, very student life friendly. Let's see. With many women's college options out there, what do you think distinguishes Agnes Scott from the rest? Yeah, so I would definitely say, our location distinguishes us. A lot of women's colleges are in pretty rural settings, and we're not. So I think students that, are looking at women's colleges are looking kind of a lot of times up north. There aren't that many colleges down south. So I would say students who are interested in not just being at a women's college, but also having so many opportunities in the area distinguishes us. Also, I would say that, Agnes Scott, compared to a lot of women's colleges, we're very progressive, I would say. We're very open-minded with our, transgender policy, and we're very diverse compared to a lot of not just women's colleges, but a lot of liberal arts colleges as well. So I think that sets us apart also. Do your dining halls cater to special dietary restrictions? Yes, so we have one dining hall on campus. It is called Evans Dining Hall, and we have a vegan station. We have a specific kind of area for students who are gluten-free, and definitely if students have specific dietary needs, then we'll make sure to do that. How supportive is Agnes Scott to international students when it comes to funding? Awesome question. So we have one admission counselor. Her name is Emily Davis Hamry. She's actually also from North Carolina. We have a lot of Carolinians in our office. She works with international students. So she is their kind of point person. And then we have another counselor, Irfa, who works with undocumented and DACA students. So we are very hands-on when it comes to international students, DACA undocumented. So for funding for those students, we try to give them, of course, everybody will, get that merit-based scholarship, but then we also try to, have them figure out some institutional aid as well. And then making sure that they know about, Golden Door or our Goy's Weta scholarship or, different outside scholarships in those areas. Is housing guaranteed for all 4 years? Yes, housing is guaranteed all 4 years. We encourage all of our students to live on campus for all of those 4 years. The only students that I will say are kind of allowed to commute are students that live in a 30-mile radius of the college. Do you have any curfews or rules that may not be present at other colleges? That's a good question. So we do not have a curfew for our students. They're in college, so we know that they're, independent and they can take care of themselves. We do have kind of guest policies at some of our residence halls. We want to make sure that our students are being respectful of roommates, of suite mates, of everybody else in that residence hall. So guests do need to sign in and out if they're bringing somebody from off campus. They also, we are an open campus, so anybody can come on to campus. We do have a public safety office though that guests sometimes will check in at. So we do make sure, that our student safety is kind of at the forefront of everything we do as well. What's the college relationship like with Morehouse? Awesome question. So we, a lot of times people say Morehouse and Spelman, those are like the brother sister schools. We don't have like a brother institution or anything. I think that's, a historical reference, a lot of people say brother sister schools. We have great relationships with a lot of colleges in the area. So with that arch program, our students can go and take all those classes at different institutions. Morehouse specifically, I know students through the Morehouse School of Medicine will do research there. So a lot of students will go over there and participate in the research that they have going on. These are awesome questions. Anything else?
How would you define the school culture?
Yeah, I think that's, a tough question to answer because, with not being on campus right now, definitely culture online is different than culture in person. In general, I would say that we are a very tight-knit community. We're a very open-minded community. That is one reason that I chose to work at Agnes Scott. So I'm from Asheville, North Carolina, if you guys are familiar with Asheville. And I grew up there my entire life, and that is a very progressive environment as well. And I was looking for a college that, was similar to that and was, inclusive and open-minded and really empowered, not just students, but staff and faculty as well. And I think I really found that at Agnes Scott. So it's a very empowering environment. Another kind of aspect that I love about it being a women's college is that there are women in leadership. Our president is a woman. A lot of our vice presidents are women. My director of admission is a woman. So seeing female leadership is just so empowering, and it kind of boosts our confidence. And so students that leave Agnes Scott are more confident and self-assured and ready to go into, the real world, as we call it, from being at a women's college. If a student doesn't find a major that they like, could there be an opportunity to create their own major? Yeah, so we do have a self-designed major that allows students to create their own major. However, I will say that a lot of times students, instead of just like creating something like out of the blue, they take majors that we already have and then create a major from those majors. So for example, we have, we don't have like a journalism major, but we have English and creative writing. And if a person maybe wanted to do like international journalism or something like that, then they might double major or create their own major by international studies and creative writing. So that's just kind of an example of that self-design major. For that, you do have to put a proposal in and kind of find your own self-designed advisor for that. We actually have a demystifying the self-designed major faculty chat, I believe either next week or the week after that. So if you go to agnescott.edu/visit and click on like it says schedule a visit, if you click on that, students can sign up for that demystifying the self-designed major, and that has great info on it. Let's see. How long are your career services available to alumni after they graduate? Awesome question. So students after they graduate do have access to career development, internship services, that handshake that I mentioned, which is our platform for finding jobs. They have access to that a year out from graduation. I would say one thing that I really also love about Agnes Scott is we never shut the door on anybody. Even though you've graduated, you are still more than welcome to come back and, be a part of things. So I would say, even after a year out, if you needed help, people would always help you at Agnes Scott. Anything else? Did you guys learn a lot, hopefully? Good.
That was very helpful.
Awesome. Excellent.
Thank you so very much, Anna.
Yeah, of course.
And of course, we will continue to stay in touch with you as we try to foster that relationship so more of our students can experience more of Agnes
Yeah.
Scott. We also encourage our participants, please feel free to fill out the survey for today's work information session. We use these to help us to improve the services that we offer to you. Anna, you'll be hearing more from us. And should you want to contact us for any reason, we're always willing to collaborate for whatever reason. So know that the Game Plan College team is going to be there to support, however.
Perfect. I am going to put my email in the chat just so that you guys have it. Like I said earlier, I am your go-to person. I'm the admission counselor from North Carolina. If you do have, international students or DACA undocumented students, I'm happy to, make sure those students are getting in touch with IRFA and Emily Davis. So if you have any students or, any other questions, feel free to email me.
Okay. Thank you so very much, Anna. And
Of
thank you so
course.
very much also to our participants.
Thank you guys so much. Have a great day.
You too, Anna.